material world, even those who are apparently advanced in education have the propensity to consider, this is mine and that is for others. Thus, they are always engaged in providing the necessities of life to their families in a limited conception of family life, just like uneducated cats and dogs. They are unable to take to spiritual knowledge. Instead, they are bewildered and overcome by ignorance. In other words, they're only interested in their own family. They're not interested in anybody else. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In human society, there are attempts to educate the human being, but for animal society, there is no such system, nor are animals able to be educated. Therefore, animals and unintelligent men are called vimuta, or ignorant, bewildered, whereas an educated person is called vidvan. The real vidvan is one who tries to understand his own position within this material world. For example, when Sanatana Goswami submitted to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his first question was, Ke ami, kene amaya jare tapa traya? In other words, he wanted to know his constitutional position and why he was suffering from the threefold miseries of material existence. This is the process of education. If one does not ask, who am I? What is the goal of my life? But instead follows the same animal propensities as cats and dogs. What is the use of his education? As discussed in the previous verse, a living being is entrapped by his fruitive activities, exactly like a silkworm trapped in its own cocoon. Foolish persons are generally encaged by their fruitive activities, or karma. Because of a strong desire to enjoy this material world, such attracted persons become involved in society, community, and nation, and waste their time not having profited from having obtained human forms. Especially in this age, Kali Yuga, great leaders, politicians, philosophers, and scientists are all engaged in foolish activities, thinking, this is mine and this is yours. The scientists invent nuclear weapons and collaborate with the big leaders to protect the interests of their own nation or society. In this verse, however, it is clearly stated that, despite their so-called advanced knowledge, they actually have the same mentality as cats and dogs. As cats, dogs, and other animals, not knowing their true interest in life, become increasingly involved in ignorance. The so-called educated person who does not know his own self-interest or the true goal of life becomes increasingly involved in materialism. Therefore, Prahlada Maharaj advises everyone to follow the principles of Varnashrama Dharma. Especially at a certain point, one must give up family life and take to the renounced order of life to cultivate spiritual knowledge and thus become liberated. This is further discussed in the following verses. My dear friends, O sons of the demons, it is certain that no one bereft of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been able to liberate himself from material bondage at any time or in any country. Rather, those bereft of knowledge of the Lord are bound by the material laws. They are factually addicted to sense gratification, and their target is woman. Indeed, they are actually playthings in the hands of attractive women. Victimized by such a conception of life, they become surrounded by children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and thus they are shackled to material bondage. Those who are very much addicted to this conception of life are called demons. Therefore, although you are sons of demons, keep aloof from such persons and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, the origin of all the demigods, because the ultimate goal for the devotees of Narayana is liberation from the bondage of material existence. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prahlada Maharaja has maintained the philosophical point of view that one should give up the dark well of family life and go to the forest to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hitvatma patam griham andakupam vanam gato yad darim asrayeta. In this verse also, he stresses the same point. In the history of human society, no one at any time or any place has been liberated because of too much affection and attachment for his family. Even in those who apparently very educated, who are apparently very educated, the same family attachment is there. They cannot give up the association of their families, even in old age or invalidity, for they are attached to sense enjoyment. As we have several times discussed, yan maitunadi grihamedi sukam hitucham, so-called householders are simply attached by sexual enjoyment. Thus, they keep themselves shackled in family life. And furthermore, they want their children to be shackled in the same way. Playing the parts of playboys in the hands of women, they glide down to the darkest regions of material existence. Adanta gobir vishatam tamishram punak punaschar vitachar vananam. Because they are unable to control their senses, they continue a life of chewing the chewed, and therefore descend to the darkest material regions. One should give up the association of such demons and adhere to the association of devotees. Thus, one will be able to be liberated from the material bondage. Text number 19. My dear sons of demons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, is the original Supersoul, the father of all living entities. Consequently, there are no impediments to pleasing him or worshiping him under any conditions, whether one be a child or an old man. The relationship between the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always a fact, and therefore there is no difficulty in pleasing the Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. One may ask, one is certainly very attached to family life, but if one gives up family life to be attached to the service of the Lord, one must undergo the same endeavor and trouble. Therefore, what is the benefit of taking the trouble to engage in the service of the Lord? This is not valid objection. The Lord asserts in Bhagavad Gita 14.4, Sarvayoni Sukonteya Murtaye Sambhavantiya Tasam Brahma Mahadyonir Aham Bija Pradapita. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving Father. The Supreme Lord, Narayana, is the seed-giving Father of all living entities, because the living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, Mamaevam Sa Jiva Bhuta. As there is no difficulty in establishing the intimate relationship between a father and son, There is no difficulty in reestablishing the natural, intimate relationship between Narayana and the living entities. Swalpam apiyasiddharmasya chayate mahato bayat. If one performs even very slight devotional service, Narayana is always ready to save one from the greatest danger. And the greatest danger is when you die, your next life, you have the body of an animal. The definite example is Ajamila. Ajamila separated himself from the Supreme Personality Godhead by performing many sinful activities and was condemned by Yamaraj to be very severely punished. But because at the time of death he chanted the name of Narayana, although he was calling not for the Supreme Lord Narayana, but for his son named Narayana, he was saved from the hands of Yamaraja. Therefore, pleasing Narayana does not require as much endeavor as pleasing one's family, community, and nation. Yeah, that's difficult. We have seen important political leaders killed for a slight discrepancy in their behavior. Therefore, pleasing one's society, family, community, and nation is extremely difficult. Pleasing Narayana, however, is not at all difficult. It is very easy. One's duty is to revive one's relationship with Narayana. A slight endeavor in this direction will make the attempt successful, whereas one will never be successful in pleasing his so-called family, society, and nation, even if one endeavors to sacrifice his life. The simple endeavor involved in the devotional service of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, hearing and chanting the holy name of the Lord, can make one successful in pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore bestowed his blessings by saying, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to Shri Krishna Sankirtana. If one wants to derive the actual benefit from this human form, he must take to the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So you see, it's much easier to please Narayana than to please your family or your neighbors or whatever. So we should take this as a warning and as real knowledge. That's why it says, therefore, pleasing Narayana does not require as much endeavor as pleasing one's family, community, and nation. Yeah, you can never really please your family or your community or your nation. We have seen important political leaders killed for a slight discrepancy in their behavior. Therefore, pleasing one's society, family, community, and nation is extremely difficult. Pleasing Narayana, however, is not at all difficult. It is very easy. Yeah, all you do is chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Always glorifying Krishna and his transcendental pastimes. That's easy. And please your family, that's very difficult. And please other people also is very difficult. Text 20 to 23. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, who is infallible and indefatigable, is present in different forms of life, from the inert living entities, stavara, such as the plants, to Brahma, the foremost created living being. He is also present in the varieties of material creations and in the material elements, the total material energy, and the modes of material nature, sattva guna, rajo guna, and tamo guna, as well as the unmanifested material nature and the false ego. Well, sounds like Brahma is everywhere. Brahma, the foremost created living being. He is also present in the varieties of material creations and in the material elements, the total material energy, and the modes of material nature, sattva guna, rajaguna, and tamaguna, as well as the unmanifested material nature and the false ego. Although he is one, he is present everywhere, and he is also the transcendental supersoul, the cause of all causes, who is present as the observer in the cores of the hearts of all living entities. So it's in your heart also. He is indicated as that which is pervaded and as the all-pervading supersoul. But actually, he cannot be indicated. He is changeless and undivided. He is simply perceived as the supreme Sat Chit Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Being covered by the curtain of the external energy, to the atheist, he appears non-existent. So, Krishna does not appear to mundane people, but someone who wants to become the devotee of the Lord, he is easily attainable. Purport: not only is the Supreme Personality of Godhead present as the supersoul of all living entities, at the same time, he pervades everything in the entire creation. He exists in all circumstances and at all times. He exists in the heart of Lord Brahma and also in the cores of the hearts of the hogs, dogs, trees, plants, and so on. He is present everywhere. He is present not only in the heart of the living entity, but also in material things, even in the atoms, protons, and electrons being explored by material scientists. But they never find out about Krishna because they're blind. The Lord is present in three features, as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Because he is present everywhere, he is described as Sarvam Klav Idam Brahma. Vishnu exists beyond Brahman. Bhagavad Gita confirms that Krishna, by his Brahman feature, is all-pervading. Mayatatam idam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtinam. But Brahman depends upon Krishna. Brahmanu hi pratistaham. Without Krishna, there could be no existence of Brahman or Paramatma. Therefore, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ultimate realization of the absolute truth. Although he is present as the Paramatma in the core of everyone's heart, he is nonetheless one, either as an individual or as the all-pervading Brahman. The supreme cause is Krishna, and devotees who have surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can realize him and his presence within the universe and within the atom. Adantasta paramanu chayantastam. This realization is possible only for devotees who have fully surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord. For others, it is impossible. This is confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 7:14. Daivihi esa gunamayi, mama maya duratyaya, mam evaye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. The process of surrender in a devotional attitude is accepted by a fortunate living being. After wandering through many varieties of life on many planetary systems, when one comes to the real understanding of the absolute truth by the grace of a devotee, one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanavam Mam Prapadyate. So this is very important information. If we can surrender ourselves to a genuine devotee, and engage in devotional service always under the tutelage of the devotee or devotees, one can make tangible spiritual advancement and eventually be free of the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. Prahlad Maharaj's class friends, who were born of Daitya families, meaning demons, thought that realizing the Absolute was extremely difficult. Indeed, we have experienced that many, many people say this very thing. Actually, however, this is not so. The Absolute, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is most intimately related to all living entities. Therefore, if one understands the Vaishnava philosophy, which explains how he is present everywhere and how he acts everywhere, to worship the Supreme Lord or to realize him is not at all difficult. Realization of the Lord, however, is possible only in the association of devotees. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his teachings to Rupa Goswami, said, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 19.151, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasad He Paya Bhakti Lati Bija. The living entity in the material condition wanders through many varieties of life and many varieties of circumstances. But if he comes in contact with a pure devotee and is intelligent enough to take instructions from the pure devotee regarding the process of devotional service, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin of Brahman and Paramatma, without difficulty. In this regard, Sri Madhavacharya says, Antaryami Pratak Atma Vyapta Kalo Hari Smita Pakritya Tamasavritat Harer Aishwaryam Na Jnanyate. Jnanapyate. The Lord is present as Antaryami in everyone's heart and is visible in the individual soul covered by a body. Indeed, he is everywhere at every time and every condition. But because he is covered by the curtain of material energy, to an ordinary person, there appears to be no God. Yeah. Most people say that they can't see God, so therefore they can't believe in God. But the reason why they can't see God is because they're engaged in sinful activities. As soon as they give up their sinful activities and take to Krishna consciousness, then little by little they begin to see their relationship with Krishna, and then they surrender completely to the Lord. But if they remain in ignorance, ignorance means associating with non-devotees. The more you associate with non-devotees, the more you become ignorant, and you are not able to understand your relationship with Krishna. In fact, the ignorant people, they try to convince other people that God doesn't exist. However, if you avoid the association of bad people and associate only with genuine devotees, then you develop strong faith in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything depends on who you associate with. Everything depends on who you associate with. Text 24. Tasmat sarve sabute su dayam kuruta so shidam bhavam asuram unmuchya yaya tusyati ahok saja. Therefore, my dear young friends born of demons, please act in such a way that the Supreme Lord, who is beyond the conception of material knowledge, will be satisfied. Give up your demoniac nature and act without enmity or duality. Enmity means hatred, and duality means you cannot make up your mind on what is the truth. You're always confused. You go this way or that way at any different time in your life without coming to the actual real truth. Give up your demoniac nature and act without enmity or duality. Show mercy to all living entities by enlightening them in devotional service, thus becoming their well-wishers. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18.55, Bhaktya mam abhijananti tavan yas jasmi tattvata. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as He is only by devotional service. Prahlada Maharaj ultimately instructed his class friends, the sons of the demons, to accept the process of devotional service by preaching the science of Krishna consciousness to everyone. Notice he says, preaching the science of Krishna consciousness. This is the real science. It's not the fake nonsense science of the so-called scientists. They are making all kinds of, scientific work, but they never come to the point of understanding Krishna. So therefore, they're not scientists. They're bluffers. And their life is spent in wasting their time looking for something that they're not going to achieve. However, if one surrenders to Krishna, right away, he or she can understand their relationship with Krishna and engage in that relationship and go back to Godhead very easily. Whereas the scientists who hate God and who want to emulate God, they'll never understand anything, and they will never be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Text 24. Therefore, my dear young friends born of demons, please act in such a way that the Supreme Lord, who is beyond the conception of material knowledge, will be satisfied. Give up your demoniac nature and act without enmity or duality. Show mercy to all living entities by enlightening them in devotional service, thus becoming their well-wishers. So this is the culture of devotees. They are always trying to help others become Krishna conscious. Therefore it says, show mercy to all living entities by enlightening them in devotional service, thus becoming their well-wishers. Yeah, if you want to be a well-wisher, if you want to be a person who does good things that help other living entities to make spiritual progress in spiritual life, then you should dedicate yourself to becoming a preacher who can enable other people to become Krishna conscious. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18.55, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyaschatmi tattvata. One can understand the Supreme Personality Godhead as He is only by devotional service. Prahlada Maharaj ultimately instructed his class friends, the sons of the demons, to accept the process of devotional service by preaching the science of Krishna consciousness to everyone. You see, Prahlad, he was in this classroom with other kids, and every time the teacher would leave the classroom for some reason or other, Prahlad would take up the podium and begin to preach Krishna consciousness to his friends. Every time, in other words, the teacher would walk out of the room, he would start preaching Krishna consciousness. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanyas chasmi tattvata. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is only by devotional service. Prahlad Maharaja ultimately instructed his class friends, the sons of the demons, to accept the process of devotional service by preaching the science of Krishna consciousness to everyone. Preaching is the best service to the Lord. Wow. Now, everyone, we should write this down. Preaching is the best service to the Lord, and keep this in our mind, right? Preaching is the best service to the Lord. The Lord will immediately be extremely satisfied with one who engages in this service of preaching Krishna consciousness. This is, you want to please Krishna. Now we know. If you want to please God, this is what you do. You become a devotee and a preacher of Krishna consciousness. Then you will be in Lord Krishna's favorite, favorite list of devotees who are ready to be liberated eternally. If you want to get in on that list, learn how to be a preacher. And it's not difficult. All you have to say is, "Dear sir, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Please chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare." Right away, you're a preacher. So it says here, this is confirmed by the Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 1869. Nacha tasman manusyesu kaschin me priyakritama. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, meaning he, the preacher of Krishna consciousness, nor will there ever be one more dear. So if you want to be endeared by Krishna, then become a Krishna conscious preacher and help many people become Krishna conscious. Then Krishna will accept you with love and devotion for doing the essential work of helping others become Krishna conscious. If one sincerely tries his best to spread Krishna consciousness by preaching the glories of the Lord and his supremacy, even if he is imperfectly educated, he becomes the dearmost servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is bhakti. As one performs his service for humanity without discrimination between friends and enemies, the Lord becomes satisfied, and the mission of one's life is fulfilled. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised everyone to become a guru devotee. I like that. Have you heard this before? Become a guru devotee and preach Krishna consciousness. Yare deka tare kaha Krishna upadesha. That is the easiest way to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By such preaching, the preacher becomes satisfied, and those whom he preaches are also satisfied. This is the process of bringing peace and tranquility to the entire world. Just see the vision of Prabhupada. It's unbelievable. He's giving us the possibility to connect with everyone in the whole universe by preaching Krishna consciousness. Bhaktaram yagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhitam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam santam richati. One is expected to understand these three formulas of knowledge concerning the Supreme Lord. That he is, 1, the Supreme Enjoyer. That he is, 2, the proprietor of everything. And 3, that he is the best well-wisher and friend of everyone. So, he's the Supreme Enjoyer. He is the proprietor of everything, and he is the best well-wisher and friend of everyone. A preacher should personally understand these truths and preach them to others, to everyone, excuse me. Then there will be peace and tranquility all over the world. Okay, so three things that we should do. What are they? Teach people that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. We're not the supreme enjoyer. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Right? And that Krishna is the proprietor of everything. Yeah, we don't own anything. Everything belongs to Krishna. And that he is the best well-wisher and friend of everyone. Yeah, if we become genuine devotees and we preach Krishna consciousness, that means that we're a genuine friend, not a phony friend, but a genuine friend. A preacher should personally understand these truths, okay, and preach them to everyone. Then there will be peace and tranquility all over the world. So what truths is he talking about? He says, you have to preach that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, that he is the proprietor of everything, and that he is the best well-wisher and friend of everyone. A preacher should personally understand these truths and preach them to everyone. What are they? Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. He is the proprietor of everything, and he is the best well-wisher and friend of everyone. A preacher should personally understand these truths and preach them to everyone. Then there will be peace and tranquility all over the world. The word sohridam, friendliness, is very significant in this verse. People are generally ignorant of Krishna consciousness, and therefore, to become their best well-wisher, one should teach them about Krishna consciousness without discrimination. Yeah, you don't do like, oh well, we only teach to white people. We don't teach to black people. No, that's nonsense. That means you're not really a devotee. The word suridam, friendliness, is very significant in this verse. People are generally ignorant of Krishna consciousness, and therefore, to become their best well-wisher, one should teach them about Krishna consciousness without discrimination. That's the point right there. We should not discriminate because of color or this or that. Since the Supreme Lord Vishnu is situated in the core of everyone's heart, everybody is a temple of Vishnu. Now, this is what we should understand today. This is a major statement. That is, that everybody is a temple of Vishnu. Even the demons, they're a temple of Vishnu. We have to have this type of vision. If we don't, there will never be a genuine preacher. Everybody is a temple of Vishnu. One should not misuse this understanding as an excuse for such words as Daridra Narayana, a little Narayana. No. If Narayana lives in the house of a Daridra, a poor man, this does not mean that Narayana becomes poor. He lives everywhere, in the houses of the poor and those of the rich. But in all circumstances, he remains Narayana. To think that he becomes either poor or rich is a material calculation. He is always Sad Aishwarya Purna, full in 6 opulences in all circumstances. See, Prabhupada is a real preacher. Now you're hearing a real preacher, right? If we simply repeat what Prabhupada says, then we become a preacher. So we don't have to make up anything, We don't have to say, I got a new way of preaching. No. Simply repeat what Prabhupada says, you become a real preacher. Text 25. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Ah, well, that's the point. They could not influence their children to become devotees. That's because they were not completely surrendered to Krishna. You want to convince your kids to become devotees. That's probably the hardest thing in the world to do. And the way to fail is to not be in control of your mind and your senses and be very tolerant and patient. Then you won't be able to, uh, you know, educate your kids. If you have, a short, let's say, what is it called? A short temple here, yeah. Short fuse, that's it, yeah. A short fuse, you'll not be able to educate your kids. You have to be very, very tolerant. That doesn't mean that you cannot teach them, but you can teach them with love and devotion. Never get angry, never become too, let's say, scary, and threaten them. These are little kids. These kids, when they're threatened, they think that the whole world has collapsed and they'll never be happy. You have to be very careful. A child has a very, let's say, limited access to knowledge. And if you become angry and scare the children, they'll never be able to get over that. So you always have to be very loving. At the same time, loving teacher. You instruct the children, you correct the children, but lovingly. Then they will become good devotees. But if you become mean and scare the kids, no, that's terrible. They'll hate Krishna consciousness. It's not ABC in life. When you're trying to educate a child, you have to have full control of your mind and your senses and never become too mean or nasty and because of mischief of kids. Kids are going to be mischievous. It's normal. But you have to be patient and loving. And you teach them with patience and love, not with anger. That is the real, let's say, gold standard of a mother and father. Right? Teach your kids about Krishna consciousness without becoming angry, or also beating them or putting them in a closet because they did something wrong. People do that, So you have to be very careful if you want to be a parent. Very, very careful. To always remember that when you were a kid, you would be scared if they put you in a closet, right? You don't want to do crazy things like that. Okay. Does that answer your question in any way? Okay. Huh? Yeah. Okay, oh, wow, that's fun. The new temple. Okay, we'll stop right there. Our takeaway for today is, just one second. Takeaway, one second. Nothing is unobtainable for devotees. That means that a devotee can do anything in order to please Krishna. Nothing is unattainable for devotees who have satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of all causes, the original source of everything. The Lord is the reservoir of unlimited spiritual qualities. For devotees, therefore, who are transcendental to the modes of material nature. What is the use of following the principles of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, which are all automatically obtainable under the influence of the modes of nature? We devotees always glorify the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore we need not ask for anything in terms of dharma, kama, artha, and moksha. So, as devotees, we're not interested in mundane advancement of life. We're interested in genuine spiritual advancement of life. So, what looks like going backwards is actually going forward. So, the more we become gentle, the more we become surrendered to Krishna, from the point of view of the karmis, we're going backwards. But from the point of view of Krishna, we are making tangible spiritual advancement. So we should think about this. We can make more, we can come closer to Krishna by surrendering to Krishna. And we can go farther away from Krishna by ignoring Krishna. So we should be always, let's say, cognizant of being surrendered to Krishna and being very careful what we say, what we do, and especially how we speak. People understand other people by the way they speak. So using bad language, getting unnecessarily angry, lying, cheating, all these bad things corrupt a person. But when one is in control of the mind and the senses and has love for Krishna, then everybody likes that person because they don't get angry. Or if they try to correct a child, they don't scare the child. They take the time with patience to instruct the child. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj Ji. So I'm 100% concur, 100% agree on that it's too difficult to please the families and it's better to do the Narayana.
It's impossible to please your wife.
It's impossible, yes.
Impossible.
Every day it's different. In that reference, Maharaji, like in Varnashrama in Kali Yuga, when it is being recommended to give up the family life, and we cannot go to the forest nowadays, right? So what is Varnashrama in Kali Yuga looks like in that case?
What we're doing right now. Okay? Hearing about Krishna, surrendering to Krishna, preaching the glories of Krishna. This is what we can do. This is like going to the forest, say. But we are preparing ourselves to go out and chant Hare Krishna to the whole world. The Harinam Sankirtan is the real, let's say, the real culture of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the worst time, where most people are not interested in God. So what do? We go out chanting Hare Krishna and giving out books and preaching to people. And most of the people that you meet are demons, but still, we're not in any way intimidated by them. In fact, we're in some instances able to convince them to give up their demoniac activities and take up Krishna consciousness. So, you don't see thousands of people in the temple. Maybe there are in some places, but you don't see thousands of people. But the few people that do come here, if we spend the time to nurture them and help them understand Krishna consciousness, and thus they take up Krishna consciousness, then that is such a wonderful feeling that you have that, okay, I might not be a great preacher, I might not be rich, I might not be this or that, but I was able to help one person become Krishna conscious. So that's the way we should see our position. If we can help at least one person to become Krishna conscious, we have succeeded in our life. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama. And if you can help two people, that's even better, or three people, or four people, or five people, right? But after you can convince one person to become Krishna conscious, then you develop the, let's say, fortitude and determination to help many, many more people. You have to start with one. Once there's one, then you can open up your whole life to helping people become Krishna conscious. It's the first one that is most difficult. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Okay, my dear devotees, now go out there and make one devotee today. Yeah, we're going to go to the new temple. Yeah, good. Thank you, ma'am. Are there any questions or comments anyone would like to make? Yes. Haribol, Prabhu.
Radhapati Prabhu didn't see the forest, it is behind the Maharaj. So you have to stand behind the Maharaj. That's it.
Radhapati. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying the always stand behind the Maharaj, never come front. So you can see the forest behind the Maharaj.
I am your servant. I don't, whether I'm in the forest or outside of the forest, doesn't matter. I'm your servant. Hare Krishna. Oh, glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama